No, you know what? I've thought about this. I've thought about this long and hard. I don't think I'm gonna go home this year. I don't think I'm gonna go home. After what they did to me last year. No. Let me just tell umamncane shame ukuthi cha. Hayi lo nyaka bazongidrowa. Awu bakithi. Ubani lo sengifona awu Nkosi yami uzakhethela ingane yami. Awuthi ke ngizwe uthini? Sawubona wezakhethelo. Sawubona mamncane. Unjani mntanami? Ngiyaphila. Hayi nathi siyaphila nje ngeke sakhala kakhulu uDisemba bakithi uDisemba negoli lizodilika. Sizoke sibone izingane zethu. Ay mamncane yazi ngithe thina ngikufonele ngoba ngibe ngifuna ukukutshela enye into. Ukuthi kulonyaka lona angizukwehla ukuze ekhaya. Hayibo. Usho ukuthini mawuthi awuzukubuya ekhaya? Angizukwehla ukuze ekhaya ngoba manje yabona i-cost of living has increased and angikhoni nje yazi kuningi mamncane ngiyabona ukuthi mangehla ngize ekhaya kuningi okuzodingakala mina imali ayihambi kahle kulonyaka ingakho ngezukwehla ekhaya. Sengiqala izinto ezintsha ke manje ezakhethelo ngiqale izinto ezintsha zokuthi nina manje igoli lizonigwinya. Senizogwinywa igoli nina manje. Nizovuma nje ugwinywa igoli. Anisabuye emakhaya, anisaziwa nje nina manje anisaziwa. Ngakugcina nini nje? Futhi uyayazi nje nenkinga yami la ekhaya. Uyazi obhuti bakho noma kuthiwa behlile lidilikile nabi igoli kufanele ukuthi lidlalile nje. Kufanele ukuthi lidlalile ngoba uyabazi ukuthi uma befike la ekhaya abenzi lutho. Into abaziyo nje ibhodlela. Bawa bevuka ibhodlela. Manje mina ngizokwenza njalo phela mina bengithembe wena mntanami ukuthi wena mawukhona ngiyazi ukuthi izinto ziyaqonda la ekhaya. Ngiyazi ukuthi sizoba nakho ukudla. Manje mawusuthi awuseze ekhaya usushola ukuthi sokwenza njani ngokudla phela obhuti bakho njengoba ngisho bangamaqonqela. Wena usafuna ukuze ekhaya sizakwenza njani ke ngokudla Christmas? Shuthi uChristmas asinawo. Asinawo. Nina nje nigwinywe igoli. Ayinjalo lento, ayinjalo. Angibhunguki, akusikho ukuthi ngiyabhunguka shema, lingigwinyile igoli. Ezakhethela. Yabona le yakho angizwa kahle. Nosisi uzophenduka egodini, aphendukiswa ukuthi wena awufuni ukuze ekhaya. Yabona nje leyo angizwa kahle shema ntombazane ngicela upakishe ubuyize ekhaya awuzugwinya igoli wena. Awuzukubhunguka wena ubhungukiswe nje ubhukuke ngoDisemba abantu babuyile emakhaya wena ubhungukile. Sihlupheke la ekhaya thina senawo Christmas ngoba wena ubhungukile. Azakhethela ubuye ekhaya. Isona sizathu lese senza ukuthi ngithi angizukukhona ukwehla ngize ekhaya ngoba nonyaka odlule yonke into yayiwekela emahlombe ami. Osibusiso noJabu beyibuka beyipenena nje nonke ningibuka yonke into ephelile idinga mina yonke into ephelile idinga mina. Kulonyaka angithena yazithini angikhoni ngoba amasente vele mancane. Kungcono ngivele ngithumela imali. Uzothumela imali? Ngizothumela imali ngoba manje if ngehla nami sokuhenye into leyo ngoba phela i-transport kube zonke lezi zinto mase kuhlangene kuzogcina kuyimali enkulu. Ngcono ngivele ngithumela imali yabo. Ozakhethelo sebebhunguka emagoli ebese bethi bazothumela imali. Kodwa ke mntanami ke noma sengehlisa kumoya phela ngoba usushilo wathi uzothumela imali yabona. Yabona yona ke imali siyosiza phela ngoba sengishilo ukuthi osibusiso noJabu la ekhaya into abayaziyo yibhodlela. Kulungile ke mntanami uzothumela imali ngoba phela sengizokwazi nokuthi sibe noChristmas. Nosisi egodini bakithi usezothoba umoya ngoba phela uyabona ukuthi ingane yakhe at least ke kodwa ithumelile imali yabona yokuthi sikwazi ukuthenga uChristmas. Ayikho inkinga mntanami usungahlala ke phela ke kodwa phela hawu musukuyenza lento hawu akube ukuthi uyaqala uyagcina kodwa athi ngibuze mntanami uzothumela malini? Hayi mamncane yabona nje phela imali engizoyithumela nje phela kuzobalana nje ko 2.5 yabo. Awu Ntombi yazi usebenzile wena usebenzile. Hayi yazi ukuthini ngi-right yezwa ngi-right futhi nje ngiyabonga mntanami wena ukuthi uyakwazi ungicabangela yezwa nokhisimuzi sengizoba nayo nami sengizoba umswaphene ezitolo yabona phela bese ngizodabukisa nje yabo hayi uphile ke sisi uphile ke ube nokhisimuzi omuhle nawe akulungile ke mamncane nawe uphile ke uphile hayi bye bye ke bye awulengane bakithi yazi ngiyayithanda yazi lengane ngiyayithanda ngoba iyakwazi ukungicabangela uzakhethela. She said I won't be back in a while. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jennifer Ngumalo. I do hope that you join us by clicking that red subscribe button on the bottom. That is if you like the content that we serve in this channel. And also don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. That is if you relate to the content that we're going to be talking about and you actually enjoy the video, just make sure that you do give it a thumbs up because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. So on today's video, we're going to be talking about December. A month that we should be relaxing and enjoying ourselves, but we find ourselves digging deep in our pockets. That January comes, we are broke. And so we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I'm preparing for December, the things that I normally do to prepare for December, and then also give you some tips that I think might help you, things that I've implemented that have helped me to make sure that I stay sane, I protect my wallet, and then I make sure that in January I'm not broke. So there's one thing that I've realized. I picked this up when I was talking to many people, not many, but various people that I've spoken to regarding December and how they feel about it and if they're going home. I picked up a trend that more people are less eager to go home now. And maybe we can blame it to the economy, that everything has just went up and salaries have not went up and people are feeling the pinch right now. And so going home for them, it's not something that they're thinking of. And I think that the reason why it is that case is because many of us, because I've been talking to black people, by the way, about this, because I feel like most of them can relate. Most black people during this time, it's time for them to go back home because most of us, we work far away from home. And then so we tend to go back home. And for many of us, when we go back home, it means expectations on what you have to do. You know, you have to show that you work. So most people were saying they're not eager to go back home because they just feel like this year they really need a break. Financially, they need a break. It costs them a lot to go back home, not just on transport, but also spending at home. It costs them a lot. And so they are really now most people are just not eager to go home right now. Even for me, I am going to be going home, but I'm not eager to rush to go back home because the more days that I spend at home, the more money that I'm going to spend. And so I realized this, and it really did say something about the kind of expectations that we find. The light keeps going in and out, so please forgive me. The kind of expectations that we find when we go back home. And so I know that this for us is supposed to be the time that we are supposed to be relaxing and enjoying family time. But for many of us, it is a lot. It is a huge burden. That is why I did that first acting scene right there at the beginning, because I thought, what is the best way for me to encapsulate the way people have been feeling lately about December and them not wanting to go home? Because actually last year I did do a similar video, and that time it was Mswapeni. I'm actually going to link it up here or here. It was Mswapeni, and it was more so of, now that you are home, there are these expectations that you need to actually show that you work, especially if you work in a big city. So now you have to show that you work. This year I thought, since I spoke to many people and they were just saying it is better to send money back at home rather than to go, because then you control the spending. So let's get into the points that I wanted to discuss. What does December mean to me? For me, December means going home. That's the first thing, because I work very far away from home. I think it's about 8 hours if I'm going home. And normally I just split it into 2 days. And so for me, December means going home. And that costs money. For me, going home means not just spending time with family, but also spending money, because when you are working and you are far away from home, when you get home, you can't just sit and fold your hands. You know, we don't come from those backgrounds. We come from backgrounds where when you come back home, you have to show that you work. And so that is also the case for me as well, that when I'm at home, I need to show that I work. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. However, I can't just sit around when I see that there are things that are needed and I can afford to get those and just say, bazosbona. I can't do that because I'm also there. That means that I have to suffer as well. So that is what December means for me. It means spending time with family, but also going deeper in my pockets when it comes to spending, not just on transport, but also when I'm there. And for me, December also means not just spending once, because there's not just Christmas. There's Christmas and then there's the New Year's Eve. And if you have noticed, when you buy groceries in Christmas, you find that all the things that you bought on the 22nd leading up to the 25th, they will be finished by the 26th or 27th, which means that now on the 28th and the 29th, you have to go and buy things that you are going to be using on the 31st, on the New Year's Eve. So that now, because during the time, many of us, you find that as we bribe, we do all these things, and those things also means that you have to buy those things. And so it's not just shopping once. You find that you have to shop twice. And then you come back here in January, you are broke. And so for me, December really means spending. And I don't like that, but then I don't really have a choice. If I'm gonna go home, I better know that I'm going to spend, you know? Why planning matters? For me, I feel that planning is very important. If you want to win, and if you wanna protect your sanity and also protect your wallet during December, it is very important to plan. Plan to the T. Plan to the T. Obviously, you're not going to stick to everything that you have planned. However, when you plan to succeed rather than to not plan at all. Because when you don't plan at all, you leave gaps where they can use to actually direct your money, where people, your family members can actually come in and end up directing you in terms of how you should use your money. So it's very important that you plan for every cent, plan for everything. If, let's say, for instance, for December, you deciding that, okay, as a family, we're going to go out. You need to plan for those things that, okay, if potentially we go out 2 times or 3 times during December, maybe we go to the ocean, we go out, whatever, you need to take into account all those things. Understand that, okay, this is how much we can potentially spend, and this is how much I am willing to budget for that. You need to plan for that so that you know what that means for you. And I would really advise you that when you're doing your budgets, instead of just doing a budget for food where you say, okay, this is spending that I can contribute for food, have spending aside for also the activities. That is if you are a family that actually does a lot of activities. So how am I planning for December? So the first thing is I started saving, I think around September, and I realized that I didn't have any money for December at all. I had no savings whatsoever for December. And I knew that I'm going home. It's still December, but I'm not home yet. And so what I did was I started saving. I started saving 50 rands a week. And then I changed it to just 500 rands a month. And so for me, saving is very important. Normally what I do is I'll save from January all the way until November. But this year I didn't do that because there was just a lot going on. And so I started saving around September, and I started saving, slowly. And I've been building up my savings. And so for me, it is very important that I save. So that's how I prepare. That's the first thing that I prepare when it comes to December. I like to make sure that when I go home, I have a set amount. So let's say, for instance, I'll say, okay, for home, I have 2,000 that I'm going to spend. So this is money that I'm willing to contribute towards groceries. Now, I'm not just the only one who's going to be contributing. There are other people as well that contribute. But for me, I put it as 2,000. Obviously, when they say, okay, now guys, we need to go buy groceries, we need to contribute, I'm not going to come and say I have 2,000. No, I'll start at the lowest amount. So maybe I'll say I have 1,200 and see what someone else brings as well. And then when we're at the shops buying and then you find that we're short of something, I know that I have extra cash on the side that I had saved up for this specific thing. And so I'm able to come in there. I'm able to then dig into my pocket and just pay for those things that I feel like, okay, the bill became more than what we budgeted as a family. So as I said, I can save up to 2,000, but doesn't mean that I have to contribute the entire 2,000. I leave the other money so that if need be, then there is money. Because if you say you saved 2,000 and then it's time to go buy groceries and you take all of the 2,000, you spend it, and then you are left with nothing, it actually forces you that if anything comes up or if anything needs to be bought at your home, you now have to dig deep into something else. So let's say you saved up for January. Now you have to use that money that you know that you are going to use when you go back. Now you have to use that money. So to avoid that, what I do is when they say, okay, it's time to buy groceries, guys, how much can you put in? I'll start at the lowest amount, and then everyone else will come in, and then we'll see. Then where I can chip in more, I will, but I'm not just gonna raise my hand and say I'm doing that. How I prepare for December as well is I budget for transport. So normally when I'm saving, I will save up and say this is for December, but then I also put money aside for transport, because if I were to add my transport money to my money that I'm saving specifically for being at home, it's going to be a lot, and you find that I won't have as much to contribute when I'm at home. And so what I do is I just separate it. I save separately for transport costs, because it does cost a lot for me to go home. Let me just say, in total for me, transport costs are around 1,000. That is going and coming back. So I just save that on the side. And what I do is, if I know that I've saved 1,000 for going home and coming back, I'm not going to include that anyway. So what I'll do is I'll go home, I'll take that money, I'll put it somewhere else where I know that when it's time for me to go home, that money is there waiting for me. That just helps me to avoid the confusion, and also and end up feeling like I'm a superhero when problems comes at home, and then because now I feel like I have money. And then lastly, one of the tips that I can give you when it comes to just protecting yourself and also preparing yourself and protecting your finances in December is, do not overstay. That is the last thing I can tell you. And this is a very funny point. I won't say don't go home, as most people are saying that they're not gonna be going back home, they rather send money. Like, that's fine. Like, for me, I also salute them, because honestly, guys, going home costs a lot. However, if you really want to go home, don't go for a long time. Like, cut your trip short, because the longer you stay at home, the more money you're going to spend, the more you're going to be expected that you become a savior whenever something is needed. As I said, you don't just buy groceries once, you buy it twice during the time, because you buy for Christmas and then you find that you have to buy things now for New Year's Eve. And most of the time it's things like meat and things like charcoal, things for braai. And so that's why for me, I say don't overstay. Try to cut your trip short. So maybe let's say you go for 1 week and then you come back. It's like, for me, what I ended up doing was, instead of going and staying all the way after New Year's Eve, I don't do that anymore, and I haven't done that in like years. What I do is I will go for Christmas. As soon as the Christmas has passed, on the 28th, roughly on the 28th, I'm leaving, I'm gone. 27, 28, I'm gone. Because I know that there's going to be phase 2, and I'm not ready for phase 2. And most of the time, phase 2 is so boring, because it's not just the food. The people that drink, they also want their stuff. And I'm not a drinker, and so I don't like spending money on those things. So I just prefer that, okay, on the 28th, I'm on the road coming back to Gauteng, because I feel like when I'm back in my own space, I can control how I spend, and we are not as much. It's just me, my daughter, and my partner, and so we don't end up spending as much as if we're at home. And so what I'm saying here is, it's very important to not overstay, because when you overstay, you're going to spend just as long as you are at home. Rather just say, okay, I'm going to spend 1 week to be at home with my family, to spend Christmas with them, and then I'm gonna go somewhere. So maybe you find that you go somewhere with, that's what we would do sometimes. We just go somewhere with our family, or we go back and be in our own space where we can just spend time with just the three of us. And that also just helps us as well to start the new year relaxed, chilled, because we find that if you go home and then you stay all the way until the first, the second, and then you spend the second on the road, when on the third you have to be at work, it never works for us. You find that now you are at work on the third and you're tired, you're exhausted. So to avoid the exhaustion, what we do is we come back early, we relax, we spend in our own we spend on our own terms, we spend time as a family, so that when the third comes, where we have to go back in the office, we are not as exhausted, we are not as tired, we are ready to start the new year. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you're going to protect yourself in December. You're going to go spend time with family, protect your money, protect your wallet. Make sure that you start January knowing very well that financially you are prepared. You're not going to be broke. You're not going to be having a fridge that just has water in it. You know, the things that we see on socials during January, people complaining about money, fridges being empty and all the stuff. We are not about that life. We are adults, we are adults. We can plan our things. So plan your things very well and make sure that you set yourself up for success in 2023. And it starts now on the things that you do now. You're spending this month because this is a high spending month. I find that when you start January good financially, your year just goes better because January is the longest month. And so if you started well, you're not broke, you're not struggling, you're not scrambling for cash, I find that the month moves quicker, and then also even the following month, it's a breeze. But if you are broke in January, you must know that February, March, those months you won't be okay. You start picking up maybe in April going forward. So make sure that you start January smoothly. Make sure that you protect your finances during this time, during the festive season. So with that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Please take care and stay safe. Bye.